Okay, so let's work out the solution to the optimization handout that I gave you guys today. So here we go. The idea is to dock the boat, let's say somewhere here, X miles west of point H, and then we can walk the rest of the way to Chick-fil-A, where the remaining gap would be 50 minus X. And let's call the boat A, the dock point B, and Chick-fil-A C. So let's break this up into segments. So let's go from A to B. So maybe over here we could say A to B. And to find the distance, let's call this distance D. Go Pythagorean theorem. And you can show that the distance would be the square root of x squared plus 1225, because that's the square of 35. So this distance is for the first leg of the journey from A to B. And we also know that it's going to be distance equals rate times time. And on this boat, the rate is 3 miles per hour. So we know that if we take this and divide it by 3, that's going to be the time for the first part of the journey. So let's write that down somewhere. We know that from A to B, we have time 1, which is going to be, I'm going to call it 1/3, because dividing by 3 is the same as multiplying by 1/3. And then instead of a square root, I should go 1/2 exponent. See that? I almost messed up there. So the exponent is 1/2, and the coefficient is 1/3. So this is time 1. Now time 2 is, now let's talk about B to C. So B to C, that distance equals rate times time. Well, we know what the distance is. The distance is 50 minus X. The rate is 4.5. T is time. So we'll divide by 4.5, and that gives us time number 2. So we have time 1, and then we have time 2. So why don't we set up a function for time? So we can go like T of X. Let's get all this out of the way. We can go T of X equals, over here, we have 1/3 X squared plus 1225 to the 1/2 plus 50 minus X over 4.5. And then this here, why don't we actually break that up into 2 parts? Break that up as 50 over 4.5 minus X over 4.5. And put an invisible 1 right there next to the X. Now let's find the derivative. So T prime would be 1/2 times 1/3. Keep this the same. Take away 1 from 1/2 to get negative 1/2. And we multiply by 2x because that's the derivative of the content inside of the parentheses. So this is the derivative of the first part. What about the derivative of that? The derivative of that is 0 because that's just a number. And then the derivative here would just be the coefficient of x. So we're looking at minus 1 over 4.5. And we know that the derivative is going to be set equal to 0. And let's see, this would be like 1/6 x squared plus 1225 to the negative 1/2 times 2x minus this number here. On a calculator, if you were to type that in, that'd be like negative 2/9. This fraction, it's the same as negative 2/9. And why don't you actually add that to the other side of the equation? So that gives us positive 2/9 equals all of this there. So let's get all of this out of the way. So we have positive 2/9. Almost there. We're almost done, folks. So we have positive 2/9 equals 1/6 x squared plus 1225 to the negative 1/2 times 2x. I think that's what we have. And then why don't we actually multiply 2 with a 6 to get 1/3? So that's like 2/9 equals 1/3. I'll put the x in the front as well. Like that there. And why don't we take all of this stuff there, which has a negative power, and make the negative positive by sending this whole piece downstairs right next to the 3. So let's go up here. So we have 2/9 equals 1x over 3, and I'll make it a square root. So when you move that to the bottom, the negative becomes positive. And then instead of a power 1/2, we just wrote a square root because it's the same thing. And from here, why don't we go cross multiplication? Here in green, we can cross multiply. We can cross multiply. And let's see what that gives us. That'll give us like 9 times 1x is 9x. 2 times 3 is 6, with the square root part next to it, like that there. Now, why don't we protect both sides and go exponent of 2? Because that'll knock out the square root. So 9x squared gives us 81x squared equals 36 times x squared plus 1225. And we can distribute the 36. And so let's see. So we have 81x squared. We'd have 81x squared. 81x squared. Distribute the 36 to get this here. And we would get 44100 positive. Subtract 36 from 81. That'd be a what? 45. So we have 45x squared equals 44100. Divide by 45. And then square root to get x, which is about, let's see, I forget what the answer is. Let's find out. So I get about 31.3. About 31.3 for the value of x. So x is about 31.3. So that means that you want to land the boat 31.3 miles west of H. And if the whole thing's 50, take this away from 50, and the remainder is like 18.7 or something like that, that you have to walk. And then remember your function t of x, go to it, and instead of x, plug in 31.3, and you should see that your minimum time is whatever was on the answer key. I think it said something like 19.8 hours or something like that. So that would be the minimum time required to go from the boat to Chick-fil-A.